Hi, this is Sirisha Verma and today is Saturday. That means we'll be reviewing a book today. And in today's Saturday video, we will be reviewing the very famous book by Morgan Housel known as Psychology of Money. And this book specifically talks about timeless lessons on wealth, greed and personal finance. So, without further ado, let's get into it. This book, firstly, is a simple read. It just has 20 chapters, and also in those 20 chapters, the book is printed in such a way that it is very easy on the eyes and it is very easy for you to read as well. So, if you are planning to get a good personal finance kind of book, which will also talk about fundamentals, then I would definitely suggest that you buy this book. Secondly, I would like to discuss about a few chapters and a few philosophy principles regarding this book. I may not be able to cover all the 20 chapters, which would not be fair to the book as well. But whatever I understood from reading this book, I would definitely want to share with you. So, the first point that I have understood by reading this book is your personal experiences make up for your financial strategy. So, I have been one of those persons who have been following a lot of financial gurus, specifically during this Corona time, wherein I started trying to understand more about personal finance. How do I manage money? How do I keep investing so I get better returns? And something that I have seen is each of these financial investor gurus has their own strategies, and they keep telling you their own strategies which may or may not work for you. And I was always confused regarding, okay, so how do I use this for myself, for the situation that I'm currently in, for the kind of investment that I'm bringing in? And that is where this book really helps. So, in this book, Morgan Housel actually tells you that your your personal experiences make up for your financial strategy. That means each of us has a specific personal experience that we have had. Some of the very good examples that he gives here is, if it also depends, that is, your personal strategy, financial strategy will actually depend on the period or the time of the year that the year that you were born in. What was the financial situation of the world, seeing which you must have grown up? So depending on that, you should be coming up with your own personal strategies. Cloning is good. That is, copying somebody else's investment strategy might be good, but until and unless they are not they don't share the same personal experiences that you have, then probably that is not a financial strategy that will work for you. So that was number one. The second one that I really liked in this book is about the factors of luck and risk. So most of us, we look at successful people and we think, oh my god, this person is so successful, maybe because he is really very hard working, and also because he does take a lot of risk. Since I come from a middle class family, I take risk, but probably not to that extent, right? So that is what we all think. But Morgan Housel actually gives us pretty good examples regarding how luck is also a very important factor. It's just not about working really very hard or just taking risk all the time. These are also factors, but luck also plays a very big role. And one of the example that he gives here is, he talks about Bill Gates and his friend Kent Evans. So, Bill Gates and Kent Evans used to study in the same school, which is Lakeside School, and then Bill Gates was exposed to computer in this school when he was in around 6th grade, was when Lakeside was one of the very few schools which actually got computer for their students and set up a computer lab. Previously, in those kind of years, it was not easy to get their hand on a computer, computer, but they were able to get it, and that is where Bill Gates was exposed to computers, and he built a huge company of Microsoft. But if you look at his friend Kent Evans, he was also in the same class as Bill Gates, and according to Bill, Kent was much more smarter than Bill, and he feels that if Kent was still there, then probably he would have built a much bigger company. But unfortunately, Kent Evans died at a young age because of an accident, and so he never became a competitor of Bill Gates. So if you look at it, look at this specific case study, it is just not about how smart or how hardworking or how much of a risk you will be taking. It is also about how much luck you do have, because it could have been Bill Gates who might have met with that accident, and then we would not have had Microsoft, or probably we would have had a bigger version of Microsoft today. So my point here is, so be empathetic towards your fellow human beings. Don't think that, okay, if a person is really wealthy, then maybe he's very smart or very hardworking and he takes a lot of risk, that is why he is really wealthy. And the person who is really poor is a lazy person, he doesn't want to do anything, and that is why he's not grown in life. There could also be that the person who is rich has had a lot of luck, he might have made all the right kind of investments. Again, that depends on how lucky you are, right? So that is point number 2. Point number 3 is learn to be enough. So we see many people, there has been case studies of this wherein greed got the better of people, and then they lost all the money that they made, they also lost all the dignity in the society, right? So Morgan Housel also talks about this concept of learning to say I have enough, and I don't want to become too greedy. So one of the examples that he gives is about Rajat Gupta. Rajat Gupta was the CEO of McKinsey, and then he became the CEO of McKinsey at a very young age, which was at 40 years. He actually was brought up in the slums of Kolkata, and he has risen to this huge level of becoming a CEO of McKinsey Consulting at the very young age of 40. But then he lost everything, he was arrested, he lost his money because he did something called as insider trading, which was really bad. And that happened because Rajat Gupta actually wanted to become a billionaire, but he was just stuck with being a millionaire, so he wanted to make a few quick bucks by doing something called as insider trading. If he would have thought that whatever I have is enough, then probably this would not have happened. Now, the next point that Morgan Housel talks about is be patient and always keep compounding. So most of us, even if you are investing in stocks, you generally think, okay, I want to buy this particular stock. First of all, we don't do any fundamental research by ourselves. We generally probably listen to a financial investor guru. Those are a lot of YouTube videos I find nowadays of people making videos regarding why a specific stock is good to buy. And there are people who actually invest their hard-earned money in these kind of in these kind of advices being given by people that they don't know, and then they lose all the money. But stock investing is also just like any other investing. We generally invest 60 years of our life on working and then saving for the retirement. So just like that, whenever you invest in a particular stock, number one, make sure that you do some fundamental analysis regarding why that stock, why are you buying that stock, why it is right for you, because this is your hard-earned money. Don't just blindly go with some guru, stock market guru who says he has made millions just by investing in this one stock, because trust me, there are so many other people who are also listening to that video, right? And then secondly, once you buy something, once you have done the fundamental analysis, once you have trust in the company, then be patient. See, market will generally go up and down. You might get scared when you see a negative 10% on your stock and then start selling it out, but don't do that. Just be patient. So patience also comes with confidence. Once you do your fundamental analysis, you'll be confident regarding the investment decision that you made, and that is when you can be patient. So the example that Morgan Housel gives here is Warren Buffett currently has $84.5 billion as his net worth, and out of that $84.5 billion, $81.5 billion came only after his 65th birthday. And if you look at Warren Buffett started investing at a very young age. He started investing when he was 10 years old. So as you can see, the compounding out of $84.5 billion, $81.5 billion of net worth was made by Warren Buffett only after his 65th birthday. So that is the power of being patient and compounding whatever you currently have. Now, the second point, the next point that Morgan Housel talks about is getting wealthy and staying wealthy are two different things. So whenever you look at rich people, you might be thinking, oh, probably his this is not the wealth that he created. Probably it was created by his grandfather, by his father, by somebody else, and then he's just enjoying all the hard work that they have done and all the right decisions that they have made. But getting wealthy and staying wealthy are two different things. So you might suddenly become wealthy tomorrow just because probably you would have won a lottery. But then whether you will stay wealthy with that money is something which is there in your hand. So getting wealthy and staying wealthy are two different things. So plan for future. So also plan for the plan that will not work. Right. So whenever we talk about planning, we generally have plan A and that's it. But it is always better to have plan A, plan B and plan C also, just in case plan A and plan B don't work. So that is what Morgan Housel wants to say here. Now coming to the next point, he says, keep working at building wealth. Chance becomes better with volume. So this is again a very beautiful example that he has given when he says first is be patient, do your fundamental analysis and then keep compounding whatever you're investing, but also keep working at building wealth, and then chances increase. This is something that I have come up with. Chance increases with volume. So what does that mean? So there is an example in the book wherein he talks about investors investing in art. So art is something which is very new in India. So people are slowly investing in art nowadays, but then it is very difficult for anybody to assess which of the art will make you a billionaire tomorrow. So what happens is many of us think, oh, all the art collectors who have become billionaires or millionaires, they know how to understand art, and that is why they buy those pieces which are the winning pieces. But actually that is not right. All art investors buy huge volumes by the same artist. And they keep accumulating those works. At the end of the day, if the artist really becomes famous, then whatever his art has been bought by this specific investor goes up in value. But the art investor at that point of time when he's buying doesn't know if this artist will become famous or will he die poor. Right. So what that means is the art investor doesn't just buy pieces from one artist, they actually buy volumes of pieces from different artists, because they are also not sure which of these artists might become famous. So that is why I have come up with that line which says chance becomes better with volume. So keep whenever you are trying to build wealth, look at the long term, keep investing, and whenever you do, make sure you buy in bulk or you buy in volume. That is where the profit margins, or that is where that extra edge is there that you get. Now one other point which was very important was, what is it that is important for you? So as an investor, as an individual, you have to define for yourself what are your goals, what is important for you. Is wealth important for you, or is freedom important for you? So depending on that, you can actually create a life for yourself wherein you say, you know what, at this point of time my freedom is important for me. I want to spend more time with my family, so it is okay if I work a little less. But once that is done, probably your next goal for the next decade, maybe, okay, my family is all settled, I have spent enough time with my small children and they have grown up now, so I want to invest more time in my work and I want to build a name for myself. So at any point of time in your life, you might have separate goals. So Morgan Housel also says, build a life according to what your goals are. The goals doesn't have to be necessarily financial goals, it can also be life goals. So think about this and make a decision, and according to that, plan your life. Now, the last point, the last but one point that I would like to discuss in this video, because it is also already getting too long, is rich versus wealthy. So these are two different categories of people. One is the rich person and one is a wealthy person. So these are two very different kind of categories. The rich person may be a wealthy person or may not be a wealthy person. So you must have seen in your friend circle or in your own network, wherein some people generally wear the best clothes, they're always shining, they have the best car out there, the best and the newest mobile out there in the market. They always flash all of these things, and you might be thinking, oh my god, this person is really rich, right? But there is a differentiation between somebody being rich and somebody being wealthy. So all these things that your friend might have bought may not be bought with his own money. So he might be flaunting all of this because he has a credit card debt, he has a house EMI, he has a car EMI that is going on, and if something happens to him, then all these disappear, right? Because if his job goes away, then he will not be able to pay for the car EMI or the house EMI. That means his car and his house will be taken over by the bank. So in that case, he is no more rich. But if you look at wealthy people, they may not exactly flaunt their wealth. For example, again I'm going back to Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is a $84.5 billion dollars worth of guy. But if you actually look at Warren Buffett, he doesn't have the latest mobile, he doesn't have the latest car, he doesn't live in a huge house. He has been living in the same house for more than 50 years now. He uses the same second-hand car that he bought when he was much younger. And apart from him consuming a couple of cans of Coke every day, he doesn't have too flashy habits, and probably he plays golf, that's it. So that is the distinction between rich and wealthy people. Wealthy people may not exactly flaunt their wealth, but they are free. So they have enough money that tomorrow, even if the market takes a dip, they will still be able to maintain their lifestyle, they will still be debt free. So make sure you always aim for becoming wealthy rather than becoming rich. Now, the last point and the most important point that I would like to discuss regarding this book is income is less important than savings rate. So most of us might think, oh, how can I actually create a financial goal at this point of time, because I'm hardly making enough money as it is, right? So Morgan Housel also talks about this example wherein he says income is less important than savings rate. So you might have a less income than probably somebody who is in a managerial role, somebody who is a CEO of a big company. But if your savings are better than what the CEO is saving or what the manager is saving, then you will definitely be on the path of becoming wealthy. At the end of the day, it is not about how much you earn, but also how much you save, because there are so many people out there in the world who make 6-figure salary, 7-figure salary, but at the end of the day, if you ask them, okay, what is your savings, they don't have any savings in the bank, because they have to maintain that lifestyle of a big flashy car, of a big flashy house, of the latest mobile, right? So their savings account is generally zero. Has zero money, because they want to maintain a rich lifestyle rather than becoming wealthy. So this is it. I would also put all these points in the description if you want to read more about it. I hope you have liked this video. This is Siddhisha Verma, founder chief strategist at Branding by Pixels, a business strategy design and digital marketing company coming live to you from India. I generally create videos thrice a week. Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. Tuesday I generally cover a digital marketing topic. Thursday I generally talk about a business case study. This week we have talking about Evergrande crisis and its impact on India. And Saturday is generally a book review that I do. So if you like my content, please do subscribe to my channel. If you think your friends or somebody in your network can benefit out of the content that we are making, then definitely share the video with them. Please do like the video if you like the kind of content that I'm creating, and I would love to hear from you. If you have any questions regarding specifically digital marketing or regarding this book review, please do leave a comment and I would revert back to you. So this is Sirisha Verma. Please do take care and we will talk soon again on Tuesday. Thank you. Bye.